The next great Fallout game is finally here. Well, sorta. Fallout London could easily be mistaken as an official standalone Fallout game, but it's actually a mod for Fallout 4 that's been released for free after 5 long years in development. This is possibly one of the most stunning modding achievements that I've ever seen. It's basically an entire Fallout game set in London, developed by the community, and it's so good that it feels like an official Bethesda game, complete with incredible landscapes and, of course, game-breaking bugs. Let's check it out. So, if I had to quickly sum up my first impressions of Fallout London, I'd call it the next Fallout game. It really is incredible just how well crafted and massive this project is. Even calling it a mod feels like a disservice considering the insane scale and quality of this project. The fidelity of every asset and the depth of the environments are amazing, and they easily rival the quality and atmosphere of the official games. Many of the items you find scattered about have entertaining nods to British culture, with even random junk like condoms being called Jimmy hats. And keeping in design with some of the humor of previous Fallout games, they even give you some resistance to radiation, which is fantastic. All of the characters in this game feel very unique and have a cool range of accents representing different regions. The voice cast so far seems a little bit on the smaller side, so the variety isn't quite as deep as you might expect from an official game, but this is one of the very few areas where Fallout London doesn't necessarily improve upon the official games. Not that this mod is aiming to be a straight improvement over the original game, it's really just a new game within itself. I mean, it's taking the concept of what if Fallout took place in London, and guess what? It's fantastic. Now, unfortunately, much like a Bethesda title, Fallout London is loaded with bugs, and no, I don't mean radioactive cockroaches. In the time I've played so far, there's been multiple crashes. I'm also having issues where every loading screen seems to get stuck unless I Alt-Tab, which magically makes them finish. Plus, there's a bunch of other random little odd bugs here and there. Fortunately, the download for Fallout London includes a folder of additional mods that the devs recommend, and the Buffout 4 crash fix is one of them, which did actually help my playthrough quite a bit. They also recommend a handful of other mods to fix the loading screens and some other crashes, but it does seem like the project could still use a bit more bug fixing beyond this. The good news is they've already said they plan to release updates and bug fixes. It's just unclear how quickly that's going to happen, since this is, after all, a free mod. Now, bugs aside, getting into Fallout London's story and its gameplay, the line between an official release and the mod gets even blurrier. The core story of the game is a mystery regarding your origins. You wake up in a test tube being experimented on by scientists who are attacked by a gang of locals. And your character is at a bit of a loss as to what's actually going on, and you start to piece things together through your interactions with the other characters. It's not exactly a new approach to the Fallout storyline, but I'm still excited to see where it leads because the characters you're introduced to are just so vibrant, very much keeping up with the memorable characters in Fallout fashion. I also like how quickly the mod gets you out of the test tube and onto the London streets. The first playthrough of Fallout 4 can actually take quite a while just to get started in the game if you end up talking to everybody and looting through everything, so it's nice that this game just kind of gets you going right away. And while you might think that this takes away from some of the story and character setup, it's actually expressed mostly through dialogue during the gameplay or just the gameplay itself, rather than having to go through the somewhat laborious character dialogue trees. Now, the setting, which is pretty much the main draw to this game, is incredibly well executed from both an environmental storytelling perspective and with the characters inhabiting the world. And just in case you forgot that it takes place in London, the streets are littered with wrecks of the iconic red double-decker buses. The signage and ads plastered on the walls are very British, and even the iconic Mind the Gap signs are all over the tube. Walking down the streets of a town called Bromley, I was taken aback by how lush the post-apocalyptic vegetation and decay was. Everywhere you look, you see rundown buildings, streets covered in overgrowth, muck and grime covering every surface. And I've played a lot of Fallout 4 mods lately that attempt this sort of presentation, but none of them do it this well and consistently across the entire experience. Whenever I'm on the hunt for mods that make Fallout games more overgrown and apocalyptic, this is the look that I've always envisioned, but I've never really found. The complete unique setting and unique assets here just make it feel like a brand new experience. You're not gallivanting around a map that you've explored to death, running into characters that are a little different but kind of the same. This is all new territory and it's great. Now, one of the few areas that Fallout London doesn't necessarily separate itself from the other Fallout games, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, is the combat. All of the classic Fallout staples are here. Old world guns mixed with laser rifles and more sci-fi gadgets. You've got your VATs, funny melee weapons, makeshift guns and armor, plus a litany of drugs and food to recover your HP, boost your damage, remove radiation poisoning, all the usual stuff. And while all the items, including the weapons and healing aids, have gotten a proper coat of British charm, there's nothing wildly different from the Fallout 4 items. The 9mm pistol is just a plain 9mm pistol, but with improved textures. Same goes for the double-barrel shotgun. That said, the improved weapons, like the crude guns used by the hooligans, look much more custom-made for this mod. The new Pip-Boy they created is probably the thing that stands out as one of the most original and custom designs. Kinda reminds me of like a giant cassette player with a screen on it. And while a lot of the guns and items are very similar to what was in Fallout 4, some of them do have some extremely unique twists to make them feel more location appropriate. Now, one thing that they've absolutely nailed, at least as far as I am into the game, is the balance. So many Fallout mods assume players want this crazy, brutal survival experience that gives enemies hard-hitting guns that you don't stand a chance against. But the enemies in London are appropriately challenging and well-placed in encounters. I ran into groups of enemies that were pretty big, and despite having to chew through a bunch of healing items to survive, I never quite felt like I was running into weird difficulty spikes or anything that killed me that I shouldn't have anticipated. Some Fallout mods will turn the average rad scorpion encounter into a boss fight basically, and as far as I can tell that doesn't happen in London, so I'm a big fan of that. I even got ambushed by a bunch of drowned ghouls in one of the mod's more horror themed sections, and it still felt like it was a fair fight. The new environmental detail and dark interiors create some really intense atmosphere of dread, which is a fun feeling in this game. The tunnel that crosses the Thames River where I got attacked by the ghouls is nearly pitch black in sections. The enemy encounters plus the environmental design and the constantly accumulating rads makes what's otherwise a straight walk down a hallway a pretty high tension race to the other side. And as far as I can tell so far, the devs are doing a great job with the story-driven mission design. It gives you a path to follow that takes you to all the cool places and sets you up with all the vendors and characters. After the opening act, which involves a train crash, you arrive into the London streets and are offered the choice of following some members of a local gang called the Vagabonds back to their hideout to help with your injuries, or just heading to a nearby town to fend for yourself. And while it's intended to be a fork in the road choice that lets you kind of skip some of the early game tutorial stuff, both options are motivated by the story that you've experienced so far. This is the same gang that attacked the folks in the vault where you woke up in, making their offer of help a little more suspicious, but you also have no idea what's going on in the world, so wandering on your own to a town of people that you've never met seems like it could be a pretty big risk in itself. And it was nice factoring in the weight of these narrative decisions rather than just seeing the obvious game choice element before me. Now, I'm only hours into this game, but so far I'm absolutely blown away by what a modding team has done. This is basically a standalone game. Sure, it's got some bugs and weird stuff in there that I honestly would attribute to some of the original bugs of Fallout 4 more than the mod team, but the quality and presentation is just on another level. Like, stuff I've never really seen from most mod projects. And the fact that at its core, Fallout London is just a massive mod for Fallout 4 is truly insane. Like, at this point it seems like it almost would have been easier just to make a different game from the ground up, but it is really cool that they're able to repurpose so much of the original game into something pretty much unrecognizable. and I have a feeling it's going to be celebrated as one of the greatest modding achievements in history. This is absolutely a reason to get back into Fallout 4. It's a whole game within itself. I can't wait to play through the rest of it. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this crazy mod project. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe for more content like it, and up next, check out these other Fallout mod videos. This one here is about the best possible way to play the original experience, using mods, that is. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap signing off.